Let me show you something cool. Let's say I type up a report that I'm really proud of. Like, so proud of that I just have to share it with the rest of the world. Well, I can. Here. With the click of a button, my story's live. Not impressed? Well, how about this? Let's say I just put together a really cool video, and I want to share it with my friends and the world. Well, I can do that here, with the click of a button. Still not impressed? Well, here's the thing. If you tried to do the exact same thing that I just did just 20 years ago, you'd have no chance. Because back then, the publishing process required editors, peer reviewers, and just a lot of time and money. So the question is, how do we go from this complicated process to something that's so easy that you can do it with a click of a button? To answer this question, let's take a look back at the history of the web. In the late 1940s, computers were just coming into existence. And by 1969, we had come up with the internet. Over the next 20 years, the internet saw major developments happen. Then, in 1989, Tim Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web. And so, Web 1.0 was born.
When people talk about Web 1.0, they're usually talking about the very early stages of the web, which was characterized by static web pages that had very little interaction and very little dynamic content.
The internet as we know it got started. It wasn't a place for online magazines or blogs or anything like that. It wasn't a place where you published anything.
2 short decades ago, we were strictly consumers of information. But it wasn't by choice. The facts were, we just didn't have means of production. Until now.
In 1995, Salon.com was launched, and it was one of the first major online publications, and it still is.
You started to see blogging sites, you started to see people connecting to each other's websites. In many ways, that really opened up the floodgates for a lot of DIY publishing because it gave people all the tools that they needed.
We now find ourselves in a new era of the web, Web 2.0. 2.0 began around 2005 and was characterized by user-generated content and increasing interactions between users. Also around this time, author Clay Shirky introduced a brand new concept.
I call it cognitive surplus, and it represents the ability of the world's population to volunteer and to contribute and collaborate on large, sometimes global projects.
A good example of cognitive surplus on the web today is Wikipedia, where thousands of minds come together to produce content every day. And so we see that when you combine cognitive surplus with ever-expanding means of production, you get something incredible.
What we see is a huge explosion in the ability of individuals who have something to say creatively to get that out and get it in front of millions of people. Today,
self-publication is easier and more accessible than ever before. All you need is a computer and an internet connection, and you're a publisher. One of my all-time favorite do-it-yourself creators is a filmmaker named Casey Neistat. On his YouTube channel, Neistat posts short films and daily vlogs where he often shares his philosophies of the web.
The beauty of putting movies on the internet is that it's democratic, it's egalitarian, and most importantly, it's a meritocracy.
Unfortunately, there is a downside to this rapid self-publication.
In the self-publishing world, anyone can talk at length about what that pain in your knee is, and like people who don't have medical degrees talking about medicine, it creates a kind of reader who has to be very conscious about what he or she is taking in.
We also face the constant threat of information overload, or just too much information. As Clay Shirky puts it, the easier it is for the average person to publish, the more average what gets published becomes. But no worries, all we have to do is refine our filters, those little things inside of us that tell us what's important and what's not. This is something that we already do in our daily lives. We're always filtering information, whether we know it or not. So that takes us here, right now. Right smack dab in the middle of what I like to refer to as the creative revolution. We have the time and we have the means to produce any work of art that we choose to. You see, the cool thing about people is that they already have a desire to create. They always have. They've just been looking for a way to satisfy it. Well, now they have it.